how do publishers work effectively to get their context properly found and indexed?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So there's a number of ways that number of resources that we have to help publishers do that. First off, if you go to the bing.com/community site, everyone should go there. You'll love it. But go there, and there's resources for webmasters and developers. A couple of things. First off, there's a great SEO guide or webmaster guide up there. So kind of the tips and tricks for Bing to make sure you structure your content well so we can find it. That's a big first step. And they've actually just refreshed that guide for Bing, so it's really relevant right to our crawler. Second thing, of course, is the standard best practices for webmasters, right? It's good, unique content. That's, I can't stress enough how important that is to have good, clean, well-formatted, good, unique content is key. And then finally, submitting your sitemaps to us is one of the best ways to help our crawler understand where we should be looking to get that information. So bing.com/community, go to the Webmaster Center, tons of stuff, tons of forums, tons of people in the forums asking questions. We have folks watching it all the time answering questions. I'm in there occasionally causing problems. But go check it out. That's actually a great place to go. Video search is so cool, I think, on Bing for a couple of reasons. We index a tremendous number of videos across sources across the web. In fact, if you go to video search today, you'll see on the left-hand rail the thing we call the Explore pane, which is kind of our consistent interface for searching now across Bing. You'll see a sources filter, and you'll see all the things. A lot of the sources we have, the bigger ones: MTV, Hulu, YouTube. I think Dailymotion's there. All Metacafe. Different providers are all listed there on the left-hand side, and you can actually filter it down. So we actually go across a lot of the different providers and index the videos. We don't store them; we just index them so you can find them. So that's an amazing resource because literally you can almost meta search across a lot of the different video storage engines, I guess you want to call them, from Bing, which is pretty slick. And things like what I love when I do demos, it's great. If you go to 30 Rock, for example, on Bing, one of the options is video. When you click on video, you can actually drill into the 30 Rock video page, click on Hulu as your source, click on long as your option, and boom, you've got the full episode of 30 Rock right there in your Bing experience, without ever leaving your search experience. It's really, really cool.
So how do you suggest video producers effectively set up Bing, much like you talked about the community for SEO?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways, right? For those who just want to have their, if they're not a huge producer, if they aren't a, or even a large producer, if they're not a College Humor or a Dailymotion or whatever, just making sure that you have, that you make sure you structure your pages with the video on them in a way that's well formed. It's the same thing with SEO. Same notion as SEO. If you do have a lot of content and you are a prolific producer, you can actually work with us to set up a feed that will enable us to more effectively ingest that or scan the content, if you will, index the content for retrieval in the engine. So it's kind of two different paths. The one like myself, the occasional producer who puts on wacky videos on the web, will find that generally just by our crawler. If you're a larger, more prolific producer, that's when we can enter into an agreement where we'll actually have a sitemap for your site, have a feed, and be able to suck that stuff in more effectively. If you go to a search and you get to your video page and you take your mouse and you hover over one of those thumbnails, traditionally thumbnails are just that, they're thumbnails, right? On Bing, when you hover over a thumbnail, it starts to play automatically. So you actually start to see with sound what's inside that thumbnail, what's inside that video, which is great because the consumer benefit is pretty clear. I don't know how many times I've been to sites where I see a thumbnail for a video, I click on it, I instantiate some kind of ungainly player that has to load up and buffer, and then I realize that's not what I wanted to see at all. It's the wrong type of video. It was lost. It was a false advertising. If something happened, it wasn't a good video. So it took me a bunch of time to get to something I didn't like, and that causes dramatic dissat for consumers. So that's the big benefit of Smart Motion Preview, is that you can actually hover, see what it's about, make the call, and then drill in. How we do it's just wicked cool. In essence, it's a big system that the MS Research guys contributed a lot to, and we literally will look at the video clip in its entirety. We'll then actually identify, there's 3 stages. First, identify shots. We try to figure out, based on the actual each frame, where the shots are inside that video. So there's a break here, break here, break here. We'll then group those into a scene, so we can actually then have collections of shots into scenes. And finally, the last step is to generate the actual Smart Motion thumbnail by looking at each of the scenes, the collections of shots, and trying to find the most interesting frames or clips inside those shots. And interesting is defined as, does it have a good edge? Is it, is it a well-formed? Is it not like a black screen? Is it not like a credit screen? Is there a lot of content in the screen? Is it, are there two people instead of one person? Are they doing something active versus standing there talking? We look at whether or not the actual, if we're cutting off the dialogue, so we'll not break it in the middle of a sentence, for example. So all those things happen. And at the end of the day, we pull it all together to create a smart motion preview thumbnail that'll actually let you see what's inside that before you make the click.